Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the New Normal podcast with Lee and Chantelle.
Hello, Chantelle.
Hello, hello. What we got going on today?
So first of all, we're gonna address the three comments that we gotten.
Three. I thought there's two.
Oh, there's three. This is one from a while back, but in total we have gotten three comments.
Okay.
And I thought instead of responding to them in the comment section, which will be more personal and like less of a discussion, we'll talk about all of our comments on the podcast. It will be more of a discussion. Also, it will be to the people who actually want to listen to us instead of responding to people who already stopped listening to us.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm gonna share my screen. My first time doing this. I don't know if it's gonna work, but here's our first comment. It's
Okay.
from a short clip called "Stocks Represent Ownership, Bitcoin Doesn't," and it says it's Statuarus 410 says, well, this was painful to watch. Thank you, YouTube, for your wonderful play next feature. What do you think about that?
So this was an automatic. What was the previous one to Bitcoin?
Yeah, basically in the video, I just said stocks is ownership, but Bitcoin, if you buy Bitcoin, you're just a user of Bitcoin. You don't own anything.
Okay. well, firstly, I don't know how that was painful to watch. Um, But I take this as opportunity. If that was enough for someone to put a comment, thank you so much. Keep it coming. Like, I don't know.
Okay,
What do
that's
you
it.
think?
Okay, so the first part where he said this was painful to watch, that's a valid opinion of his. That's how he felt. So it's valid. But then
He or she, they. You don't know who it is.
well, I went into his channel and watched his video. I think it's a he, but however he
Oh,
identified.
oh, okay. So he has videos too on what?
Yeah, I'm not gonna take personal shots at him because it was, sound like revenge, but his videos are horrible. But anyways,
Well,
okay.
like whatever. Everyone starts somewhere.
Yeah. Um, so that's a valid opinion, but he could have made it better by providing some explanation.
Yeah.
Like this was painful to watch because what I've said was so wrong, or what I was saying was right, but the way I said it was so boring that it was painful to watch. That's two completely different things.
Yeah, or just you're just a pain, period.
Yeah, whatever it is, it's
Yeah.
not clear, right? So, but then the second part where he said, "Thank you, YouTube, for your wonderful play next feature," that doesn't make any sense because play next feature is one you can toggle on and off yourself. It's not like it's a unscapable ads or something. Like you don't need to complain to me or YouTube about this. You can turn it off yourself.
Yeah, but then I think they're just like, oh, wasn't expecting this. It just was like a recommended. But yeah, that's what you're gonna get if you're gonna get recommended stuff. Like you don't know what you're gonna get. You're right. Like if it was a playlist that this person just curated on their own, then that's on them. But like this is literally like random. So, and that tells another thing too, is that this person who watched the video, well, thank you so much for watching. You took the time to watch the thing. You didn't
but
even just,
but
you didn't listen, they
but
watched it.
but he didn't
Thank you.
watch
Like,
it.
whoa.
But he didn't watch it because he wanted to watch it. He watched it because of play next feature.
Thank
Yeah,
you, YouTube. What can I say?
but
Comments?
but to me that just doesn't make any sense. If you said I really didn't want to watch ads and YouTube forced me to watch ads, then I understand. But if you turn on the play next feature yourself, that kind of like remind me of like my League of Legends game, where I play a game mode called all random, all mid. So it's all of their characters are random characters that is computer generated, and people select that game mode specifically, and then they go in, they complain that their character is not good. I'm like, you go into the mode saying you want a random character. If you want to select your character, you have the option. So it's the same here. If you want to pick your own videos, you have the option. I don't know why you wouldn't. But
Yeah, but
anyways,
this is kind of cool to me. Like people are commenting, that's cool. Like there's real people out there. Anyways, go ahead.
okay, let's go to the next two. So this from our last episode,
Oh
I
yeah.
think number 29 or something.
Mhm.
And then the first person, Jim Bo, said, she has a mindset bracket focus on good and positive interactions. He cannot let go his focus on bad and negativity at every turn. I want to believe religion could be a positive guide. What do you think about that?
So, like, I appreciate the real-time feedback here. I am trying to, focus on the good and like be more positive. Um,
Mm,
but I can also see how you, like Lee, sees things from a different light. Like it's a different perspective, different perception. But yeah, I do think that religion is a positive guide and is
mm.
there to build um, like a value system. So I can't remember specifically what in that video we were talking about now, but um, yeah, I appreciate that comment. That's fair. What do you think?
So I think that he said that you have a focus on good and positive.
Yeah,
I think like mostly that's true, but also like a small part of it is because you are arguing against me when I'm providing the flip side. So
that's true.
if I give you the like, oh, what if it could go wrong, then you gotta like say something like, well, how it could go right, type of thing. So,
Hmm.
but it's valid. But
Yeah, and
when he said, I focus on bad and negativity, that is just objectively wrong.
well,
Like,
at every turn. Well, why do you
yeah,
think that? Because this is against you.
yeah, because first of all, I don't mind, or matter of fact, I would agree with him if he said I was a negative person, naturally negative person. I don't
Okay.
know how he would know that, but that's I agree with that. But if he said I was being negative the whole time in this video, then he's just objectively wrong. Because I don't mind being negative or being called negative, but I wasn't in this video.
Not entirely. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
And I do remember the other things that we talked about, but during the religion talk, I can see.
I think two reasons why this would happen is because A, he wants to see things in the positive lens. So even if anybody gave an objective opinion, you will look negative.
Hmm.
Like there's a difference between, seeing it as what it is versus being negative. Like for example, if I say, oh, you better buckle your seatbelt when you drive because you might crash and die. That's not being negative. That's me saying like it's a possibility that you could crash. So buckle your seatbelt, prepare for the bad things that could happen.
Okay.
That's not me saying, oh, you're bound to crash. Don't even try to drive. That's called being negative.
Yeah.
So there's a difference between like being negative and unproductive versus acknowledging there's negative outcomes that exist and prepare for them.
Hmm.
And then another reason why he might see this is because I try to give both sides. A lot of podcasters or like people from I don't know, law or philosophy, they are required to argue both sides. That's what makes it like a discussion. That's how you figure things out. And
Mhm.
like you don't necessarily have to believe one side or the other, but you have to explore like what you believe in and what you don't believe in. Otherwise, you're just reconfirming whatever you believe in. You will never see the other side. You will never, if you're ever wrong, you will never figure it out.
Mhm.
So like when I argue something, it doesn't necessarily mean I stand behind it. Like that's 100% what I believe. I refuse to believe anything else. It just like gave a different perspective on things sometimes.
Yeah, which I appreciate actually, like having your company and getting to know you and how you think. Like it's rare for, at least for the people I have come across, for them to look at both sides. So not even on a religion front, but even on any other topic or category. Um, I appreciate picking your brain because I know that there are different sides. Like there's always a different side to the story, and you shed light on both to make, like, to help me make a better decision, for example. So it's good to know both and know why and where you stand between the different opinions.
Yeah.
So,
And this ties into the last part he said, I want to believe religion could be a positive guide.
yeah.
And the way he commented the first part, he probably naturally think I would disagree with that, but I don't. Like
Mhm.
I see how religion could be a positive guide.
Yeah.
You know, like a little context for me is that when I was a little kid, I was extremely religious, but I was religious with Buddhism rather than what's it called, Christianity.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then later on in my adolescence, I turned extreme atheist. And then now I'm like older, I'm like more in the middle where I think whichever side you pick, you're losing the opportunity to learn from the other side. So
Yeah.
so my choice is to stay in the middle and be like, they're good to being a religious person is good in being an atheist. Let me
Mhm.
not pick sides so that I can learn from both sides.
Yeah.
So that's how I think about that.
Yeah. And for me too, like my responses come from having a Catholic, and I think I mentioned this too in the video. Um, it is because I came from a Catholic background. So I see from a religious, like Christianity point of view or Catholic point of view, excuse me, but it's not like I only see that. I also am interested in other religions and understanding how they operate and why they operate. And I try to take all the good things that resonate from me from those religions. So I don't necessarily like, okay, I'm not like hardcore Catholic and you cannot be Muslim or you cannot be Buddhist, or I absolutely not. Like, I think that different parts of the world have different religions and different cultures too, ties within it, and it's just a way to get to people because other, like, different people respond to different approaches. So, but also, like, I don't know in depth of every religion too, so I don't know, but I would like to also think that there's religion is positive and for people to lean on.
Yeah. Also, just a real quick point is that I think he he would only see me as negative if only if he was very positive. So
Mm,
so I appreciate that about him, even if I think he's wrong, because I would
mm,
rather him be wrong on the being positive side than being wrong, being too overly negative,
yeah.
you know. But yeah, like I see both the positive and the negative, especially in my line of work. being a being a investor, you have to be able to see both
Yeah.
because there are two sayings. One is the paranoid always the ones that survive. Meaning, like, if you don't think bad things are gonna happen, you're the one gonna fall to victim of bad things.
Mm.
But there's always this, but there's also the saying of the pessimists are always right, but the optimists are the ones that make money.
Mm.
So like you, the way I look at things is, in the short term, there's so much things that are messed up and so much wrong, and I gotta prepare for the worst. But over long term, everything's gonna be okay. We're gonna make it out, and we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna make it happen.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of like a wrapped in it. Like, it's not full on negative and it's not full on positive.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on the person hearing it, they probably see me as overly optimistic because I think things will always turn out good over long term. Or they can interpret it as a negative. They're like, you're always think like things are gonna go wrong in the short term. What's like, you're so being so negative.
Mm.
So that's that. So the last comment we have this week is from Brenda Easter. And she said, I like how the girl makes sense, but overall, these two are just online trying to make sense of things. This is a silly waste of time. What do you think about that?
This is like a two-handed comment. Because like I appreciate that she's like that she thinks that I make sense. That's great,
You only
you
appreciate
know, because usually in this relationship, Lee is for the most part makes sense because you're like logical. Also, you're kind of like lawyering, so I don't know.
that. What the fuck?
No, but no, like no, I do appreciate that she says that I make sense. Um, the other part of it is like when she's like these two are just online trying to make sense of things. Yes and no. And then the third where she's like, this is a silly waste of time. Well, it depends on who it is. So maybe in this person's life, or yeah, their like their step, what is it called? Like just where they are in life, she thinks, or this person thinks that it's a waste of time. So it's something that would not add value to this person. Um, and then like another part of it too is that we're doing this because yeah, sure, we're trying to make sense of things, but also you even mentioned it in the video as well, or in the pod as well, that we don't know. Like we are just having a discussion. We're going back and forth, and I think that also adds value. Like you cannot just be one-sided. You have to see all points of view and be pretty well-rounded to come to an educated conclusion. So like, is it fair that we're just online making sense of things? Partly, I don't think not entirely. I think we do this so that we can add value and contribute to, whoever is watching. Um, so yeah, I appreciate it, but I really don't see how it's a waste of time because the person on the other side can always click out of the video. It's really not a big deal. Like this is not going to break anybody, you know. That's what the internet is about. You're trying to search for things. You're trying to have a back and forth discussion. You're trying to push beyond what is already there. So, if that even made sense, I'm just trying to make sense of this comment. Like, I don't know. But like, thanks, Brenda. Appreciate the comment. Keep them coming.
So yeah. Um, so if I think when she said you make sense, it doesn't literally mean that. It meant she agree with you.
Yeah.
Like, oh, like what you're saying makes sense. Like, oh, like I can relate. I agree with you.
Yeah.
It's not like you know, because we were holding a conversation in the podcast. If what I don't say makes what I say don't make sense, how did we hold a conversation?
Mhm.
You can't just have one-sided sense. But yeah, that's subjective opinion. That's cool, valid. You know, she agrees with you. And when she said these two are just online trying to make sense of things, that is true. But what she's implying is not true. So like if you take that literally, it is true because we're trying
Yeah.
to make sense of things.
Yeah.
But what she's implying is like, you know, like they don't know what they're talking about type of thing.
Mhm.
Or there's no need to watch somebody who don't know what they're talking about. But that's not true because
Yeah.
if like that's what everybody is doing. They're just trying to make sense of things.
Yeah.
It's religious people, they argue against each other. Lawyers, they argue against each other, you know. um Philosophers, they argue against each other. Historically, the most brilliant people in history disagree with each other. So unless you think you're the judge of what's right and wrong, and you come on and point at one person, be like, this guy is, what he's saying is, you know, gospel, everybody else is wrong, you're just wasting your time. Otherwise, even the smartest person in the world, they're trying to make sense of things because the on the other side, the smartest man, you know, in the same league as them, disagree with them. So who's to believe?
Yeah.
And we saw that through like past few years too. Like, you know, 2020, the disease came, everybody disagreed on everything up to today. The experts, we're not talking about random guy on Twitter and YouTube. We're talking about the WHO, you know, the head of WHO versus the Americans, you know, like head of the healthcare or whatever. Like they all
Mhm.
disagree. They all just trying to make sense of things.
Yeah. And
So
that's kind of how you break through things too. Like because you're trying to make sense of it and then you see it from a different angle, that's how you break through to the next level. It's kind of like you're looking inward too. Like I'm trying, like everyone's just trying to make sense of themselves. And
yeah,
but then the more they get to know themselves, the more they can figure things out moving forward. So
yeah. Generally, whenever you think you're absolutely right, is when you stop learning.
yeah.
So if you're like, oh, like anybody who's searching for answer is just like, you know, it's too amateur. I got all the answers, then that's when you stop learning.
Yeah.
And the last part, she said, this is a silly waste of time. That's a subjective, you know, very subjective thing. What's considered a waste of time? It's reminding me again with my game League of Legends, where I play a game and then some players think they're about to lose the game and they try to surrender. They can give up the
Mhm.
game, like they will surrender and they go to the next game. And it's put to a vote. And
Mhm.
then sometimes some people vote no, they want to keep playing. And then they just complain in the chat. They're like, thanks, this person, you want to waste my time. And then to me, it never makes sense because you sat down in front of the computer, right? Turn it on, log into your account in the video game, queued up, waited for the game to find you a team, and play the video game that you know, no matter if you win or lose, it will lead you to nowhere. And now, because you think you're gonna lose, now it's all of a sudden a waste of time. What's the alternative? You give up this game, you enter into the next game. How is that more productive use of your time? It's the same time. You're spending it on playing video games regardless. That doesn't make any sense. Like if unless every video she watches, every other video she watches is productive, and then for whatever reason she just ran into this one video that we made that's unproductive, then that's a waste of time. But if instead of watching our video, she would have watched a video of a dog picking up a tennis ball, then that's isn't that the same thing? You
Yeah, it
think?
depends on what you're looking for. Like someone looking for a dog picking up a tennis ball is pure entertainment. Some people may think that
Hmm.
us talking, trying to make sense of things is entertainment too. So like it's
What
really just depends on the person.
and what's even more ironic, which I don't want you guys to stop. I want you guys to keep commenting, but in this case, it's kind of ironic because she says it's a waste of time watching us, but she spent more time commenting. That's kind of like, like you're like, oh, this thing is waste of time, but let me invest more time into it.
That's cool. You do you,
That's
you
cool.
know? I like that. And
Yeah.
that's why I think that I like having comments now. Like, and these are two that are interesting to me because it seems like these aren't the type of people that would listen to such a podcast or listen to these two, going off about something. So actually, if I could give them a question back, it would be, how did you get to our video? Like, I'm interested to see the stats on that because lately we've been getting like views that we normally don't see. And I just want to know, how did the algorithm go through to that? Like, was it a recommended? Did you search for this topic and then you clicked in to see, see us talk? Or, was it because you saw, oh, these two are different and, I'm interested to see what they have to say? Like, I'm just so curious to see the stats. So,
Yeah. I really enjoy comments,
yeah,
but
me too.
but if I put myself in her shoes, though, it's like I watch probably 1,000 YouTube videos a day. I'd be clicking on all types of things.
Yeah.
As soon as I realize it's a waste of my time, I like click it off and then go to the next video right away.
Yeah. I
If
mean, that's normal.
I can't imagine if I try to comment on every video. I think it's the algorithm like recommended to me that I didn't think it was worth the time. That
That's why
would be
I think,
crazy.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah, go.
That's why I think it's so cool that these people really took the time out of their day to provide a comment. Like, thank you so much. Like, you really thought that that was so valuable, which is valuable, to even put a
Mhm.
comment on, like a nobody like us, like actually not a nobody, but
It's
we're
it's
just chilling on here.
it's not nobody. It's Lee and Chantelle.
That's
No,
why I
no,
say not nobody because it's definitely Lee and Chantel.
no, I'm joking.
So
But um, what was I gonna say?
sorry, yeah, that's why I just totally stopped you in your tracks.
um, yeah. Oh, yeah. Was it? I was gonna say is that even though like the comment seems kind of negative, but the positive thing is that we got way more subscribers than negative comments. But what's interesting is these comments seem like they are not gonna watch again.
Yeah,
Whereas the subscribers want to watch again, but they don't comment. So that's like, isn't that a little weird thing? Because like they feel strongly enough to subscribe, but they don't feel strongly enough to comment. But then these people feel like it's not even like worth watching, but then they're comment.
yeah.
I don't know.
That's why I'm like, thank you. Like I appreciate it, like it's like I don't know you. You're like maybe across the world or or I don't know, maybe you're just my neighbor and then you just hear me doing these podcasts. Like who knows? But it's cool. I'll take it.
Can you imagine your coworker found out that you have podcasts and they disguise themselves under a different username and come up here and talk shit?
You know what?
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
I'd welcome it.
But anyways,
I ain't scared.
gonna stop the screen sharing and we're gonna go back to our regular program.
Yes.
So what happened this week? A lot has happened this week. Woo!
Has it?
Yeah. Let's
Well, for
start
you or
off,
for me?
huh?
For you or for me?
For both of us.
Okay.
Let me start off with a little quick story about my dental visit.
Oh my, here we go.
So I went to the dentist to clean my teeth,
That's good.
and they realized that my gums were receding. So they recommend me to basically patch like a piece of gum on top of my gum to cover the roots of my teeth.
Yeah, basically it's called a gum graft.
And they said, we recommend you to use, I don't know what's it called, but they said like like it's from a donor. They donated their gum. And then, instead of cutting off from the roof of your own mouth, they just use that. So it's like less invasive. And
Mhm.
then I was like, okay, and then they were just cleaning my teeth. I was thinking about it while they were cleaning my teeth. But it's halfway through, I realized it's something that don't make sense. Who would donate their own gum? Because your gum don't grow back. If you if you donate your gum, that shit disappears.
Mhm.
And I was like, who would donate their gum? And then the dentist was like, oh, that's a good question. It's actually people who pass away.
Yeah, that's scary. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, because they're like, that how, I don't know if you saw it, but when you go to ICBC to get your driver's license, they give you a thing
Yeah.
saying like, if you pass away, would you want to donate your organs and shit like that?
Yeah, yeah. I know. I seen that.
And then they're just saying like, while they're donating the organs, they donate the gums and everything too. I was
Jeez.
like, damn, gotta get a piece of dead person's gum patched onto my gum. That's
Gosh,
crazy.
when you say it like that, it's so creepy.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
So guys, make sure you keep, good maintenance of your teeth because crazy shit happens when you don't.
Yeah.
And what's even more discouraging for me to get it is that shit costs over $1,000, which leads to my next story.
Oh God.
Which is so me and Chantelle were in the car, right? I was driving and we were talking about this. And I don't know how it came up. Either I thought of it or she mentioned it, but she has benefits from her work. And if I marry her, I would get the benefits too that will cover the fees for the operations. So that's when I can,
Maybe we have to look into that. It's a possibility.
yeah. So but the point is, that's when I first considered marriage very seriously.
No, you didn't.
What the hell?
He was lying.
What do you mean?
You considered marriage. We talked
So
about marriage on our pod before.
yeah, but it's more um
Out of necessity now.
it's like conceptually we talk about marriage, you talk about like vaguely, but this time is about taking actions way more. Like before it's about like you know like when, how, whatever. This time is about taking how can we go about it. Like we actually try to figure out where can you register to get married type of thing.
Mhm.
So for all of you future kids out there watching, if you know you old enough and you're our kids and you're watching this, then it means we worked out.
What the heck?
And this moment is the beginning of the beginning. Okay. But
I'm just following the leader on this one.
yeah, I don't know. And yeah, by the way, your daddy and your mommy had a lot of shit to hash out with the marriage thing too. You know, it's mostly hashed out, but it's still pretty
Some
difficult.
residue left.
Yeah. Um, mainly because your mom
What the heck?
your your mom's focus is to create a perfect moment for her to look back on,
No.
whereas your daddy wants to remain authentic and you know and yeah, it's was also what's ironic to me is that everybody on that day wants to look special, but they end up looking all the same. So what do you have to say about that?
Lee, you make it. Okay, so this is my stance, okay?
Okay, here we go.
You make it what it is.
Oh, here we
So
go.
just because everyone else does something a certain way, you don't have to do it that way. You can take what you like, you can innovate, you can make it better. Make it what make it yours. Make it what it is. And that's what happens when people customize things. You can customize your life. It's fine. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, sure. let's let's move on. I just like to say to everybody out there who's listening, don't romanticize your relationship too much.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
agree with that.
like understand that is something like it's to maintain. It's a lot of work. It's less about the you know the romance is a more about doing work to maintain the relationship.
Yeah, I think so. Like, no, it's not all about the romance, but it's important to have a balance of everything. So, yes, romance is also part of it. It's important, but relationship overall take a lot of work, a lot of patience, a lot of understanding. It's not just, rainbows and sunshine and
Well,
lollipops and you know what I mean? Like it
that,
takes a
that's
lot of
that's why you know maintaining the relationship should be number one priority,
yeah.
because for each person is different, each relationship is different. Some
Mhm.
relationship they don't need romance to maintain it, so
That's true.
for their relationship they don't need it. For other relationship they need it to maintain, so they should get it. So like whatever that it is, the that should be the priority, like
Yeah,
just
but that's
like
just it though. Like what kind of relationship are you trying to build? Not only are you maintaining, but you're also building on what you already have, and then you maintain it. So it depends. Like like there's a time and place for everything. No, I still think there's like romance in a relationship, but the percentage varies between everyone.
yeah, but I was just like the point I'm trying to make is like it's kind of like if you're owner of a business or if you're a parent of a child, the priority or the focus should be on serving the business or serving the child instead of you feeling good being the owner of the business, like doing whatever you want to do and what you feel like doing. You need to assess what the business needs and give the business what it needs. And same thing with the child, instead of doing whatever you feel like, oh, if I do this I feel like I'm a father that's powerful. I can tell my kids to do whatever I want. No, 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 no. Like you need to like diminish your ego to say what you need is not as important as what the kid needs.
Hold on. I think there's value in knowing when to do that because no, I wouldn't allow that. Like, I wouldn't let my kid rule my life either. I think there's a balance. So like it just depends. There's a time and place. Like, yes, they can make their own decisions and they can be autonomous in some things,
Mhm.
have some autonomy on some, is that the right word? Yeah, autonomy on some things, but also there's some things that they don't know yet that they need guidance on. So I think that
But
if
that
you
but
mean like,
but that's what I'm saying.
yeah,
If they don't know things, they need guidance, then they need guidance. You should provide
yeah,
guidance. Other
yeah,
times they need
they
discipline.
need an extra push. Yeah,
Then you provide discipline. Then
yeah,
they sometimes they need motivation, you provide motivation. But the focus should be assessing what they need instead of what makes you feel good.
yeah,
It's the same thing with the business. Assess what the business needs. And it's like if the business needs more sales and you hate sales, then it's
yeah,
irrelevant you hate sales. So you need to provide business sale. And then how it relates back to the relationship thing is you need to assess what the relationship needs, not how you feel, how you like invasion of Disneyland, it doesn't matter. If that giving Disneyland to the relationship doesn't help it grow, then forget about the Disneyland.
yeah.
Like
But also depends on,
you're not there to like feel good about yourself. You're there to serve the relationship.
yeah, but also depends on like what the goals, what, yeah, what the goals are. So like if your goals are
Mm.
aligned, it'll make it easier for both people to work towards that. If your goals are different, then it's difficult to even get to the right path because you're not seeing the same things.
Yeah. If your goals are aligned, not even aligned, then forget about it. Don't even be together.
Yeah, but like
you know.
if your goals are the same, but the approach is lacking, like not lacking, but isn't the same approach because there are different ways to get to a result.
That's
But
that's
just
actually
knowing, hmm,
that's actually better to me.
yeah, and I don't mind that as well. Like there are different ways to get to a result. And I'm just like, we're just trying to find the best way that we can curate together, which is cool and makes the relationship more interesting because like you don't know where it's gonna go, but you know where you want it to end up.
Yeah, if two people's um goal align, and you should be open for each other to try new things.
Yeah,
But if they don't align, then nothing will work. Like as an
yeah,
example, if it's like, okay, if both people agree productivity is priority, that's our goal. And then one person does one way to be more productive, the other person try another thing, then you might both discover a new method that you wouldn't have discovered yourself. But if one person values productivity, the other person values, I don't know, romance or something, then you will always butt heads because the person is gonna be like every decision you make, every like decision you make tailored to romance, that's unproductive. Like it's by achieving your goal, it's defeating my goal. And then like I don't see any solution to that. Your relationship would never work.
yeah. And that's why I say there's a time and place for everything. Again, like I feel like I'm just saying this throughout the whole pod, but
Yeah.
it's true. Like you really need to know when to do something or like I don't know what else to say other than time and place. Like you cannot too much of a good thing can become a bad thing. So like like in high school there's the puppy love kind of, I didn't even date in high school, but like I'm just saying like people are just so into each other that they forget that oh there's more to life than just each other. And
Again, the solution is assess what the relationship needs and provide it what it needs rather than do whatever feel good yourself. If
some people
um,
don't even know what the relationship needs. So it's okay to figure it out together.
yeah, well, knowing that should be the focus, not you feeling good, is a very good first step.
And I think too, like
Because when you're
another
talking
thing
about
that,
like puppy love or whatever it is,
yeah,
like a small amount might be beneficial to the relationship. So you should do
Yeah,
that. And then
yeah.
at a certain point, you should cut it off because even though you continue to feel good, it becomes toxic to the relationship. So, like, again, proving my point. Like when you say time and place, what's the judgment of that is what the relationship needs. Like this time, the relationship needs something different. They need to pivot. This place, the relationship needs something different. They need to pivot.
You won't know. You won't know what the relationship needs if you don't like have a discussion, if you don't have meaningful conversations. So yeah, like other than puppy
If
love kind of
you if you
conversations.
don't try to make sense of things, things will never make sense.
That's true too. And the thing too is that, when you're getting to know someone, that's just it. It's just you're getting to know someone. But you get to a certain point when you start to know the other person and what they're going to do, and they become predictable and all these things. So then it's time to like move on from those types of conversations to having hard conversations. And I think part of it that couples have a hard time and they can't get to the actual goal is because they can't have hard conversations. Like having hard conversations is actually an art. And I realize this now because some people, even in the workplace, they can't have hard
even,
conversation.
even in the workplace, huh?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, which again goes back to my point. You should do focus on what the relationship needs,
but that's what I'm saying. You
right?
don't, some
Because
people don't know
here's the thing,
what
right?
the
Here's the
really,
thing.
hold on. Some people don't know what the relationship needs. And you'll
Yeah,
only know if you have a conversation. That's why you can't just keep saying work on the like what
yeah,
comes
but
first, the chicken
but
or the egg.
but here's the thing, right? The thing is, a lot of problems are from like people already know what they're supposed to do, like they already know what the relationship needs. Just like if they have a business, they know what the business needs, they just don't want to do it. Some like if you ask people, maybe this is what I believe a lot of times, not 100%, but a lot of times people deep down know I need to confront this issue for
Yeah,
the relationship to improve. We are stuck here, but
yeah.
then they avoid the confrontation for 10 years. Then they're just doing what they feel good themselves because that's what makes them feel comfortable. But they're not doing what it is that the relationship needs.
And like I said, the
Oh, here we go.
difficult thing is having those hard conversations.
Okay, let's move on. Let's move on.
We're basically saying the same things in different ways, but that's just it. We're getting to the
If
same result.
if anybody comment in under this video saying things don't make sense, then I understand. I agree with you. The other video, you're wrong. The things were making sense then, okay? Here, like, these kind of don't make as much sense. But anyways, let's move on to
Are
the
you
next
done?
topic. No, we're not done. This is the last topic.
Mm-hmm.
Roe versus Wade. The
What?
Supreme Court justice in America
Oh, we're
just
going controversial topic now. Sure.
we just finished religion. This tied together too, it's a pretty religious belief.
Horrible.
Anyways, so
We'll totally get canceled.
the Supreme Court just flipped the case from 50 years ago and essentially leaving whether people are able to get abortion or not to each state to decide. So now some states, abortion's legal, some other states abortion is not legal. What do you think about that?
I saw this meme on Instagram and it said, the gun law has more rights than abortion. Found that interesting because it's kind of true. What I think about abortion, is that what you're asking me?
What are just overall, yeah, like abortion and like them flipping the case and making it like instead of saying it should be legal everywhere, now it's up to you to decide in your own state. I think kind of like weed right now, right? It's like not legal in all states, but certain states they legalize it, so you can sell weed.
Yeah, I'm not sure why that's done because then everyone else will just go to the state that allows it. Like that didn't change anything. But in any case, um, yeah, I think that it shouldn't really, it really shouldn't be up to the person, quote, up top who make these decisions. I think that the women themselves can make their own decision for their own body. I don't know what it has, like, I understand where it comes from if it has something to do with religion. I understand where it comes from, where people do want an abortion too, because of rape or because of, you know, they didn't want to have a kid. So I ultimately think that it's up to the woman itself. Women are childbearing, not everyone. Like I know there's complications out there, but I think that like it's a person's body. Like they can do what they want with it. Um, but also I understand both arguments. It might be the other half or the other person who impregnated wants to keep the child, or you know, there's so many factors that go into abortion and whether or not one should go forward with it or not. So I don't have a particular hard stance on this topic, not because I care about being canceled or not, but because it's so,
Yes.
yeah, it's so personal. Like
Yeah.
what works for someone else might not work for the other. And it also depends on the person's personality. Like there's so many factors. Some people will just do it because they're so kind-hearted, they cannot ever fathom taking a life away. But they wouldn't want to live with a child anyways, but they'll birth the child and then give the child up for adoption or something. I don't know. There's so many ways to go about this. So that's, I don't really have a stance. It's very specific.
So to me, both sides don't make sense. So the pro-life side basically is they're saying like you should have abortion, be able to get abortion. Their main argument is it's your own body, you should be able to choose.
Yeah.
But you're not choosing for your body.
Yeah,
You're
you're
choosing
choosing
for a
for the
kid's
child.
body.
That's right.
Like if you want to choose to, I don't know, modify your body, like which is like plastic surgery or something, it's legal everywhere, you know, that's for your
Mhm.
body. But then when you decide to to damage the body of your child, that's not your body, you know, that you're
Mhm.
making a decision on. So that argument doesn't make sense.
But there's also the argument that because the child has not been birthed, it's still part of the woman's body. So technically, she can do what she wants.
Um, yeah, like that's I don't that
But
doesn't make sense
let's
to
see,
me.
the other side is too, the two people engaging in any of sexual activity knows for a fact that this is what happens when they engage in an activity like that. Like this is the result of that. So that's why I say unless it was rape, you
Yeah,
know.
that doesn't really make sense. That kind of sounds like to me like some people abuse animals and they're like, it's my animals. What, like it's not like your business. It's my animals. I can do whatever I want to them. It's
Yeah.
like you know, that's very iffy. Like,
Mhm.
you know, just like you don't own, like you own your dog in the like registration sense, but you don't own them. You know, like you can't
Mhm.
just do anything you want to them. The same thing, you don't own your child. They're like they're their own thing. Like you're just a carrier type of thing.
Mhm.
So that don't make sense. And the other side where they say abortion should be illegal don't make sense either,
Mhm.
because their main argument is like it's murder. Like that's you know, like all stage of abortion is more murder? Like, how do you get to that?
Hmm.
And how far back do you want to trace it? They're like, oh, it's a life is a life. Then is a sperm a life? I'd be killing millions of people then. You know what I'm saying?
And or like that's like women who have birth control. Then they're killing all of the eggs that go through them.
Yeah. And yeah. So what was I gonna say? Uh so oh yeah, also another thing, right? Another thing is is by making something illegal, you're not stopping the thing. Like they made alcohol illegal, they never stopped alcohol. They made weed illegal, they never stopped weed. And that's actually a less of like less of data you can get if you make it illegal, because you are not even allowed to collect data on it. Like for example, if people want to do research on like if weed is good for you or not or whatever it is, you can find data nowadays. But if you want to figure out if crack is healthy for you or not, you will never figure it out. If
Yeah.
you keep making it illegal, nobody's going to do a research with crack. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's going to collect data, and then you're forced to make it illegal forever because you don't have data to show that it's not that bad or whatever it is. So like making it illegal doesn't even work to begin with, like whether it's right or wrong. Like people being getting abortions since beginning of time. Like if without technology, they just fucking hit their stomach. You know what I'm saying? Like they just do,
That's so scary. Like
yeah, they just do fucked up things to get it done. It's not gonna stop everybody.
that's so sad.
Yeah. So my stance overall is, I think, is more pro-choice, but with more regulations. Like people are arguing like, should you make it legal or illegal? To me, the solution is not to make it illegal. The solution is to put more restriction on it. Kind of
What does
like
that mean?
gun control. Like instead of saying, oh, nobody should have a gun, no, like you can have a gun, but now the age limit was like 18, but we can bump it up to 21, and we do more security checks, whatever the regulation. In this case, you you should be able to have abortion, but maybe if you're below the age 21, you need, the consent of your parents. Like you need them to sign it to like help you to make the decision. Or I can't think of all the regulations, but I'm saying like you can make abortion more and more safe by putting like following the data and putting more restrictions around it, rather than just banning it outright and you're cutting off the conversation. You will never get safer.
Um, yeah, actually, that's true. Like, if someone has birth control and the birth control didn't work, I think that's
Mhm.
fair to have an abortion because they didn't want a child in the first place, and they put in all the measures not to have a child. It's not their fault. It's like, yeah,
Yes.
they know that there's a chance of getting pregnant, but they're doing everything they can with the resources they have to prevent that. So in that case, I would say they know, they're fully aware they cannot handle a child right now. So that's why they have birth control. But the birth control failed, then why not have an abortion?
Yeah,
Like there's certain things that allow someone to get pregnant,
yeah,
and
there are
then
a
there
lot
should be
of
things that allow them to revert back.
yeah, there are a lot of individual cases that are like, you need to customize it to it.
Yeah.
So so you will never be resolved by a blanket statement by saying all abortion should be legal or all abortion should be illegal. It should be,
Yeah.
as the cases come up, you constantly add regulations to make it safer and more responsible for people to make the best choice they could at the time. You know, it reminded me of like a case of suicide I learned in school. It's like in Canada, assisting you to suicide is illegal. Like
Yeah.
the doctors couldn't help you to suicide.
Yeah.
But then there was a case of a woman who was terminally ill,
Terminally.
like like she is uncurable, whatever the terminology is. It's like it's impossible to cure. Everybody across the board in the medical field agree, like in her lifetime, there's no cure to this.
Mhm.
And she's in extreme pain 24/7. Like she's suffering every day and she just wants to die. All she wants to do, and she's suffering so bad, she
Yeah.
couldn't even suicide. She couldn't like move her body. She doesn't have enough strength to suicide.
Mhm.
And she was like going to court for like 20 years or something, trying to fight for her right to suicide.
Mm.
And in that case, I think I see the reason why, like, why not? So, but then also you want to avoid people like trying to kill other people through suicide or something.
Yeah.
So you put more and more regulation around that to make sure that doesn't happen. Like make sure they have to make that decision consciously. They have
Mhm.
to reconfirm that decision every 3 months for 3 years.
Mhm.
They got to get their close friends and family, at least 3 of them, to sign on it saying that they see her point, whatever
Mhm.
it is, to make sure like crazy shit don't happen. But it shouldn't be banning it outright. The only argument for me, this probably won't make sense to most people, but the strongest argument for me to ban abortion is low birth rate and the elimination of potential genius in the future. So if we have a low birth rate, and no matter what anybody does or what any government does, they cannot encourage people to have more kids, then they will have to force people to have kids somehow. Otherwise, the humanity is going to go to zero, because it's like from 10 to 8 to 6, eventually it's going to go to zero if you keep having negative birth rate. And another argument I think makes sense for making abortion illegal is that a lot of people think they are not ready to have kids when they get abortion, but nobody is ready, right? Nobody feels that they're ready.
Yeah.
So what if when the kids come, they have to deal with it and then they become ready?
Mhm.
And what if they abort like fucking Beethoven? You know what I'm saying? Beethoven was deaf, like he was handicapped. But then, like, if the mom knew that beforehand, they probably aborted the child and they would have never had Beethoven.
Mhm.
And Stephen Hawking was, on a chair, couldn't move, and had, I think, Parkinson's is what he had. If the mom knew that her child had Parkinson's, would have never been able to walk, she might have aborted the child who would never have Stephen Hawking. So how do you judge a kid's potential before they're born and just decide to end their whole potential? That's
Mhm.
But then the opposite is also true, that if Hitler's mom, decided to abort Hitler, then it would be good news for everybody. So it's
Mhm.
like, but then to me, those are the more logical argument for making abortion illegal. Again, guys, it's not what I strongly believe in. It's just I'm providing all perspectives of all sides that I can think of. So what do you think
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah, that's fair. I think that there, like I said, you can
So
argue both sides.
so what if like it's very certain that the birth rate is going to stay negative forever and the humans are going to go extinct? Would you be okay with them banning abortion to force more kids to be born?
Probably not because
Shit, eh?
and like I said, there's some people who have been forced into having a child. Like rape really is just one case that really comes to mind because I used to be pro-life, only pro-life, because I'm like, you're responsible, you know what you're doing. That's obviously how you make kids. Like, how else are you? But then I started learning about rape and how girls or women get pregnant out of forced and not in their own will. And so that's not a decision that they wanted. So I'm like, okay, if that's the case, then I can see how abortion is helpful.
But
Um,
it's the rapist's fault. It's not the kid's fault.
yes, but it's the person who's going to be carrying the child for 9 months. And so if they do not want to go through that and they don't want the rapist kid, then that's fair not to have it. And it might even help um, with the healing process of the victim. And another part of it too is just like um, if there are people who really cannot care for a child, I really think it's not fair for the child to be born and be born um, into unlivable circumstances. So to have parents that cannot provide for their child because they're either like drug addicts or like people who really just can't even take care of themselves. How can they take care of another human? I think that's not fair that, another human is born into that kind of condition
Do you
because then
think
that's not really doing anyone any good.
do you think it's better to never had the life than having a bad life?
No, because I think a bad life is also good. It builds character.
Bad life is also good.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I thought about before too, was like if you ended their life before it began because you think their life was going to be miserable, how do you know that they wouldn't live a miserable life but still appreciate that they had a life to begin with? You know,
Well,
because there
and
are
and
there are actually a lot of miserable people out there that if you talk to them, they're like, I'm miserable, it sucks, like I really, you know, hate it, but I wouldn't end my life because it's still better than not living. So, you know.
yeah, I think it also depends on the person. Like some people need to go through a hard time because that's just their genetic makeup. And then some people like shouldn't go through it. So having said that, actually, from when I said earlier, if there's a couple or a people have who cannot provide for their child, I think there are other things like adoption, what is it called, orphanages or something like this, where I don't know if this is the politically correct term, but where they people who have birthed a child who don't want their children to go to somewhere and have a better home. I think that there needs a better system for that because maybe there are some people who really just go through the process and then change their mind or whatever something happens to them that they cannot provide for their child. So there needs to be better systems in place that will allow the child to have a better home.
Yeah. A little fun fact is that Steve Jobs was adopted.
I
So
didn't know that.
so if his parents were forced to abort, then we would have never had Steve Jobs.
But also nature versus nurture. Which one, right? Like we don't know.
Yeah,
Is it in his nature because he was born from those two parents that made him who he is? Or is it because of the environment that he was, taken into?
no, I'm saying when he was put up for adoption, the alternative was to abort him,
Yeah.
like because his
But what made
biological
him what,
parents
yeah,
didn't
but
want to
what
have
made
him.
him what he is today? Could
Huh?
it be his parents and his genetic makeup, or could it be in his environment? We don't know.
We don't know, but I'm saying like if they aborted him, like they killed him before he was born, then he would never exist.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, because it's like it required because when you say um oh the parents couldn't provide for their child, that is so subjective, so like up to each person's judgment, and I don't trust most people's judgment.
No,
Because
but like
you know what I'm saying,
the
like if,
basic,
just like how I said, like most people don't think they're ready. Most people don't think they can afford it. Most people don't think they're in the position. Like if again, I'm not like all for banning abortion, but I'm saying like you leaving it to people to judge how ready they are, then most of the times they're going to be wrong. Like I've also heard people who had an accident birth. What's it called? Accident pregnancy. So they didn't prepare, they didn't plan for the pregnancy. And they were like, I'm not ready, but then went through it anyways. And they were like, it ended up being the best decision of my life. I'm so glad I had this kid. This kid's so great and whatever, you know. So, anyways,
any other comments you'd like to make?
um, yeah, I don't know. It's just yeah, it's kind of difficult to give like every single argument. I don't know what people are arguing. So
Yeah.
I wish I could hear like what they're saying so I can push back on the specific point. But otherwise there's unlimited possibilities. I can't give all the possibilities.
Yeah, that's why it's good to have the comment section open for people to create discussion, and then maybe we can talk about it on the next pod or whatever. Just chill over here in the new normal podcast. Anyways, having said all that, don't be normal, be yourself. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye bye.
Bye bye.